myself. And we are back. There we go.
I didn't want to say anything because I wasn't sure.
Yes. Yeah, it worked a little bit different than it did last time. So still kind of testing that out because it seems like it's a little different every time. But welcome to Total Nonstop Impact Talk for Impact fans, right here on the YouTube, the Twitch, and wherever you get your podcast worldwide. I am joined tonight by Alisha, back in the house, Team TNI. How's the new year going? First time seeing you since the holidays.
Well, I brought in the New Year sick as a dog because I missed last week, so still got a little bit residual going on here. But otherwise, it's been swell.
It's been swell. Hey, there you go. There you go. Hopefully, everybody else in the chat's doing good. See a lot of familiar faces. Antonio, Mayor. Who else we got in here? Eric, Terrence. And then I see someone new. Sean, welcome to the chat. First time watching. Thank you very much for checking in. Last week, it all depends. We try to have usually 3 people on. Tonight we got 2. Last week it was a solo show, the rare solo show by myself. But definitely glad to have you all here as we're now our second episode already of the new year with TNA, our second new content. And we'll kind of get into as we review the show, because this is kind of the first of a taping 3 episodes for TV in one night. And we'll go over some stuff during the show that can kind of give you a hint of why that is, because there's some stuff like the return of the TNA Plus match of the week. We haven't seen that in quite some time, but that obviously helped stretch out a little bit of that time of the show to fill it up. And there was that Hendry, very good piece, but an extended kind of interview segment, pretty much his career buildup. But we'll get into that as we review the show. But obviously, J-Bone, sadly, unable to join us. He has been detained somewhere. Who knows what's going on with J-Bone? He's always out and about. But hopefully we get to see him soon again. But hey, seeing a lot of new names. Great. I'm definitely always great to see some new faces. So thanks for stopping by. Always enjoy seeing new faces. Let us know what you're thinking. If you're new to TNA in general, maybe if you haven't seen it in a while, let us know maybe what might be bringing you in. Is it Joe Hendry? Is it Jordan Grace? Is it Tessa Blanchard? Is it the War Machine Rhino? You never know. It could be anything. But normally we have the big J-Bone's news segment and all that, but no J-Bone tonight, so we won't do anything of that regard. But we are starting to work in some sound bites again. So hopefully I can get some of those loaded in the near future. But just for instance, because my favorite one right now, and I think you'll like this one too, Alisha. Gotta give you a little bit of this. Because we do want to know something. We want to know what the news is. And we had some good news, Alisha. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
No.
But we did get some announcements on some contracts. Well, let's say re-signings, extensions. But like last week, it was AJ Francis. So we did not get to talk about that. So obviously, you can get your opinion on that. But also, we got confirmation that Ash by Elegance was re-upped for this year.
Love it.
Along with John Skyler. Maybe a surprise there. So they're like so some definitely some names there. And let's see, there was a third as well. But let us know in the chat. So what are your thoughts of some of these re-signings by TNA? AJ Francis last week. Now, obviously, Ash. Oh, and Masha. How could I forget Masha?
I think they're smart.
So you have our Knockouts champion. You have Ash by Elegance and John Skyler, and then obviously with AJ Francis. So a lot of good names there. I know last week there was a lot of people getting all kind of crazy about the roster page was updated, the infamous roster page.
Oh boy!
And if it's one thing with TNA and their website and their roster page, a lot of it has to do with storylines. So I would never get too carried away with the roster page.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a hint of something on there, but a lot of times there isn't. Because they updated First Class, Rich Swann, no longer on the roster page. Does that mean Rich Swann is gone? Not necessarily. He just hasn't been on TV for a while. Now, but then you'll say, well, why is this person on the website roster page when they haven't been on TV for months? It's tough to really figure it out. All the time. Like
they work in mysterious ways is the only way I
they
can
do. Like people like I know, like Alpha Bravo, our good friend Johnny Bravo. Like he's not on the roster page, but he's not the Alpha Bravo character anymore, but he's there. Same thing with Josh Matthews. So you can't get too far with it. So I wouldn't read too much into it. I think it's still to be determined with Rich Swann. Like obviously, as we know with Tessa Blanchard and all, like anybody can come back. And once again, that's something where like they didn't fire him or release him. Like he's like, I guess technically suspended, if you want to call it that. I forget the actual wording that they use, but obviously he's not obviously currently on the like active on the roster. But I don't think that. I think if they have something to bring him back into, I think you could definitely see him in the near future. But before I get too far off, I do want to highlight Dr. Gerbs here with a super chat. Overtime. Take some money. Have a good show. Don't forget AdvoCat15 for the fantastic beard. You know my SB Heel. Hello, welcome to the newest member, a defective figure in TNA circles, Kizarni Sin Bodhi. New Queen edition soon. Got to go. All right, thank you, and
very cool.
Yeah, I know Sin Bodhi, the old Kizarni. Yeah, definitely. Very cool. Thank you.
I missed that one.
I remember seeing Sin Bodhi when I was out in Vegas a couple years ago at a show.
Oh, so yeah, that's way out of my knowledge of indies.
Yeah, he good old Critical Sting throwing up the talent staying in TNA. That can't be right.
What? Yeah, I think that's good though. Like
that's crazy talk. That's poppycock.
We really need to focus on like solidifying our roster and nailing people down if we can. You know what I mean? I feel like they're going in an interesting direction this year, so it's important.
Mm-hmm. Good to see you, Barry.
Oy.
Good to see everybody.
Oy.
Good to see a lot of the new faces. Always good to see some people in the chat. I did see that PCO won't be at Genesis. That's confirmed because he's going to be working the GCW show at the Hammerstein, the one that Cardona and all are at.
Oh yeah, I did. He got announced for that.
Yeah, so interesting. Obviously, he is the digital media champion, which Critical Sting, you might have to remind me, when was that last defended? I feel like it's been a while.
I hate to say it, they got to put it on someone else.
Well, that's the thing. I think like, hey, because he's got the Continental belt as well, but I think that digital media title, if you want to stay relevant, you gotta put it out there. So I think that's something they got to address early this year. Mm-hmm. Like by February, there's got to be a defense. Like I'll give them January, but that's pushing it. So yeah, people are excited about the news. And your thoughts about AJ as well, Alisha?
Oh, like I was saying, is I think they're all good decisions.
All good.
AJ is a
Okay.
good addition. Yeah, is a good addition to the roster.
All right. All right. I know you don't like to be the old fantasy booker or fantasy GM here,
Mhm.
but official Little Silver tells us Ronda Rousey said she wants to come back to wrestling and do it only for fun and part time.
Well, if she
Seeing
wants to have
TNA
fun,
say it signs part time wrestlers, it's a great fit. Thoughts on someone like Ronda? I that is an interesting name
I think
because she does
TNA would
have
be
a name, like she
right.
does have appeal.
Well, obviously it's Ronda Rousey, but I think she would have a much more pleasant experience with wrestling if she dipped into the TNA pool.
It might not be bad.
She went to the big leagues, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but it seemed to have left a little bit of a sour taste with her.
Yeah. Yeah, I
And
saw
I
a main
hate to
event at
see it with
WrestleMania.
people. Yeah. Oh, wow, you did. You were there for that?
That was New York. That was the
Oh,
last 8-hour one-day WrestleMania.
I've never been to a WWE anything. So
Ever.
ever. WCW, never WWE. You can
never,
tell where
never
my
even a house show.
you can tell where my allegiances lie.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But yeah, it seems like the chat. Yeah, let us know. I think that is that's a name that I would definitely have interest in, for sure. So yeah, I'm with that. Just seeing, just double checking the chat. Oh, Rayline. I know one thing: you won't be able to see Cena make a TNA stop in his farewell tour. He's always there because you can't see him.
Baker, who's Baker? Sorry, I'm I can't click the thingies, so I don't. I'm reading the one that says I would not put her in the locker room with Tessa. I would not put
the only Baker I know, but I don't think she's a free agent, is the dentist. But you never know.
Oh yeah, no thanks.
Yeah. Although that might be a reason not to maybe go to that company.
Yeah.
Although
I feel like TNA is the place where ego kind of dies a little bit because it's a lot more relaxed atmosphere in the back.
It does seem like that way, especially when you had like Trinity lately, like Mickey James. I think they all say pretty good things about obviously the company, the locker room, etc.
The vibe is there. Now, granted, adults are going to be adults, and not everybody gets along, but at least everybody's cordial and professional, and I feel like that outweighs everything else. Like professionalism is key.
That is important. No doubt. So no, a lot of good things happened on the news front. Like retaining some people. There are obviously we've talked about it numerous times as we ended the year, went into this year, about free agents and names they could bring in, and there's still plenty out there. That's the one thing in this business. There always seems to be some people, especially when you get to the end of the year, like TNA as well. Like contracts end, some people don't get re-upped, some people decide to not re-sign. So all of a sudden, there's names out there. So stay tuned. Obviously, as we get into a lot of big shows this year, I'm sure they do have some plans to bring in probably a handful of people like that could make a difference. So we'll definitely keep that in mind. But we'll hit obviously any other news as we go through the show. But for those of you that don't normally join Alisha and myself, as we are known as the East Coast TNI crew, we tend to maybe go through the show at a decent pace. So we'll probably do the same tonight, but I'll definitely try to keep an eye, although still like handling all the stuff at once. I may miss something.
It's all on Bill. I don't know how to do shit.
Yeah. Like we have to get more where we could get some other people to help in on that. So hopefully that will happen.
Stefan did
in the near future. but as you see, like it's still a work in progress. You try to do one little thing different, and again, like everything, if you don't do it exactly right, it kind of can go off the rails very quickly. But now we'll get right into the show because it was an interesting show. We had some stuff happen tonight, and we'll get into some stuff that happened regarding, like, there was some news going into this show, a couple things where some dirt sheets made predictions or were stating facts that really weren't true. So we'll address them as we get to them. Although people are already saying, like Mayor's saying, what's your word for 2025? Last year it was platypus.
Every year.
Was that just platypus. Last year? Wasn't
no, that's been at least a couple years now. That's
okay. New. Yeah, I thought that was pre last year.
You just maybe noticed.
It was heavier use last year.
Heavier use because it was a lot of platypus fucking shit going on. Excuse me, French.
If you get into the, if you get too many,
notes.
now, actually, Sean Cook asked, and I know J-Bone is very heavy with the notes. I will jot down some notes. Usually, I'll type out some notes, but I'll do more talking points to kind of just keep directions, some points that I take out, because obviously I was at the show, so it's more the segments that I'm really paying a lot more attention to, since I'm seeing them for the first time. But then I know at times I think do the same thing. Like you kind of might jot down some stuff when you're like, "Ooh, that was good," or "I want to remember that." Just for the people at home.
I used to take,
but it's always different.
Now I just wing it because I'm.
Now you just wing it. Hey, a wing and a prayer. That's what we're doing here. But let's get into it. This is the January 9th, 2025 edition of Impact on AXS TV and the TNA Plus app. Feel free to let us know in this now new world of where all this wrestling is streaming. Let us know how you're watching TNA. Are you watching via the app? Are you watching on AXS TV? Are you watching through whatever, like cable, a streaming service that has AXS TV? Let us know. And then that's another thing. The TV deals and stuff. Obviously now they're obviously on a big network in Canada, which is great. Like that's kind of huge news since last we talked, Alisha, that they pretty much took the WWE's place up in Canada for TV, which is great. Now obviously you got to see what happens on the US because obviously there'll always be a home on AXS, but I know at times I was debating on will they increase like homes for AXS TV, or are they going to actually try to put it on another network or in addition? And I think now it's the case where they will put it on another network while keeping it on AXS, one that has a bigger, because it's so tough right now with streaming versus TV just to get in more homes. That's how you have to do it. And they probably are looking for maybe a streaming deal aside from TNA Plus. Like I think those are all in play. So, well, and thanks everybody for letting us know how you're watching it. Sling TV. Okay. All right. TNA Plus. And the TNA Plus, it seems like a lot of people are doing the TNA Plus. And just FYI, I don't know if there's one right now, but if you kind of pay attention to the socials, things like that, go to a show, you can get a free month a lot of the time from TNA Plus. It's not like all the time, but a lot of times you can get a free month. So if you don't have it, pay attention and you can definitely get it. I know like it might not be in everyone's budget, so keep your eyes on it and you can definitely get access to it that way. But no, let's get into a pretty big shoe tonight. And that we start off with this triumvirate that we've been seeing a lot in a 6-man tag match, the team of EY, Eric Young, Jonathan Gresham, and Steve Maclin taking on the System. This time it's Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers, and the man known as GDC. What were your thoughts on this opening contest with, matching gear? And just for tonight, because of this starting match and a certain promo later, I had to use my America's team shirt.
Oh, wow. It's rich. Well, I think I'm still kind of stuck on the idea of Maclin, Gresham, and Young being a little...
They seem to have been now a group for a while. They've kept these guys together.
I'm okay with this. I'm very okay with this because I've been saying for a long time that they really need to start solidifying a group to go up against the System. And yeah, I'm good with this. This is
okay.
A very wonderful thing.
Maybe that first time it's like, oh, what's the connection? How are they going? But they've been building it up, a lot of backstage segments. You had that very cool Maclin promo, like on the road, and like EY talking to him at the bar and the hotel and stuff. Like, so they put a lot of work into it. But go ahead, Alisha. Thoughts? Looks like you had some more to say on this.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, because for a while it was just Maclin and Young, and then Gresham got thrown in there, and I just, it's great. And this was a fun match, of course. You know, I feel like anytime you go against the shenanigans of the System, you're in for something interesting. So, it was good. Fun way to start the show. Not too long of a match. I feel like it went appropriate, you know, just a fun pop for the beginning of the night.
So pretty much, you just answered the question.
Oh, what was the question? Oh, yes.
See, there it is. We wanted to know something, and you just answered it. Hey, anytime we talk about the System, we gotta get a little list. The best catchphrase going right now in TNA. Well, there's some debate. And let us know, what is your favorite catchphrase right now in TNA? Because obviously Joe Hendry, a lot of support, but you got Rhino, who we'll talk about, because as you saw, like this seems like this could be the last match for Rhino in TNA. That may be history we saw in the main event tonight. So something to keep in mind. But yeah, there's a lot of good, and we know right now wrestling's always been that way. Well, since it got popular, very popular in the 80s. But yeah, let us know. Who do you think has it? We're unabashed Lish supporters on the TNI show.
Oh, big Boston energy, bro.
Big Boston energy. And this is Jersey and Philly. So
yeah, exactly.
So that's saying a lot for us to say that. But hey, we don't discriminate.
I got so much shit for cheering for Lish at the last Impact show we went to, or that I was at with you. People were like giving me the dirtiest looks. I'm like, what? She's awesome. I'm gonna fucking cheer for her.
She is awesome. There's no doubt about it.
I cheer heels, okay? Thank you.
I don't always I occasionally cheer heels. Overall I think I cheer for faces. But then there's certain heels, or if they were a face at some point, I might stick with them when they turn heel.
Yeah.
I'll they can't just change my loyalty like that.
I hear you.
But so yeah, a great way to start the show. But we get a win. EY, Gresham, Maclin get the win, but there are shenanigans after.
They get that beat down afterwards.
Yeah, there's a beat down by the System afterwards. And it looks like they really took it to Gresham. And I know kind of some comments in the chat are kind of hinting like, could that have been a write-off for Gresham? I don't know. I don't think so. I think we'll see him again. It didn't look like you're gone for, but they definitely took they were sending a message. ... Yeah. And then here's Critical Sting, kind of a little synopsis on how they all kind of came together.
Yeah.
Because they all got cheated by Josh in singles matches. and had to match up with the Armory. So that looks like maybe a collision course. But we already know, Josh. Well, we'll go over some of the matches that got added for Genesis. A bunch of matches got added tonight for Genesis. So, but
shit.
Let's move on. Okay. So now this is someone I know a lot of people were asking about on the show as we were kind of ending the year, because we saw her, then we didn't see her, and that's Lei Ying Lee, Lee, facing someone that we just recently saw return to TNA, Savannah Evans.
I'm glad she's back.
Friend of the show. We interviewed Savannah in the past. The Cannibal back. So what'd you think of this match here? A couple of knockouts that we really haven't seen a ton from, or lately, or obviously really ever.
All this kind of started where wasn't it Savannah in the ring, and then Zaya Brookside came out and said, "You fucked me up, and now I'm missing someone out who you
sadly
fuck you up."
Sadly Zaya out with an injury, but I believe she's back now because I think she had an indie appearance not long ago. So should be back where she's obviously because I think she was going to be a factor in here as well. So the Knockouts division, obviously we saw some defections, and we know some changes could be happening still over the next couple months. So hopefully, like, it looks like they're filling that need. And as we talked, I think there are still definitely some other people that could help that division as well. Oh yeah, and you know what? And I mentioned it to start the show, but yes, before we get this match, this is that extended segment of Joe Hendry. I know I kind of said it to kick off the show, but the placement was actually right before the match here. So I know I mentioned it, like I think it was a well done piece, kind of went over his whole history, really. Getting into wrestling through TNA, but really setting the stage. Like, this feels like, yeah, this is the story you're telling of your next world champion. What were your thoughts on this package?
My eyes glazed over and I went into another planet. And
this is something I think you can kind of, I think there's always that balance with a wrestling show on how long you can go, because it's almost like, hey, if you're tuning in to watch like almost like a documentary or a profile piece show on a wrestler, then you're like, okay, and that's what you got here. Because like sometimes you get that, and it's like, let's say the countdown show for Genesis, for instance. I imagine they'll have this, but probably tightened up to like 3 minutes, as opposed to I didn't time it, but this was 7-8 minutes, I think. Like,
the Joe Hendry.
It was detailed.
Well, it's long overdue for Joe Hendry. I feel like this is something they maybe should have done a little bit sooner. But
I think it was good. And like, but maybe like sometimes we saw like Tom Hannafin sit downs with like Crazy Steve and stuff like that. They were 3-parters. Maybe you could have split it up over the episode or a couple episodes. Like, here's like early Joe to mid Joe to more recent Joe. But it definitely gives you a lot of information on who obviously is the face. They're making the face of 2025, Joe Hendry, for good reason. Like he's the most over guy they have. So, but this is definitely playing a part in that. I think that's. But yeah, thank you that. So before we get into that knockouts match, but it was good to see the knockouts obviously follow it.
Yeah, I feel like they kept a good pace with everything tonight. So Started off
especially
strong, promo this.
And I thought that was strong. I think the one that's going to be divisive is probably the match, the TNA Plus match. But we'll get into that because I know in the past they used to be very divisive when we would talk about it on the show. So we'll see what it is tonight. That goes back to like when me and J-Bone would do watch-alongs on Twitch when we were co-streaming the show. People would get all up in arms. But it also is topical. But you know what? I do want to highlight something as we're talking topical because something very cool happened, Alisha, and I don't know if you saw it. Mayor here says it. Did you hear that CM Punk mentioned Chris Bay after his match with Seth Rollins
Bill
on the Netflix Raw?
Bill, look into my eyes. Do I look like I knew about that?
I'm guessing no, but but I know a lot of people have been talking about it, like in the TNA realm. I just don't know if you would have seen anybody doing it because, like, a lot of the TNA people are like, "Oh, that's pretty cool of Punk to do that."
I deleted Twitter, so no.
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
No social media. So CM Punk gave a shout out to Chris Bay after his victory. So very cool, very cool. Like anytime the wrestling community supports each other,
I agree.
And happened with Chris Bay. That's
especially
very cool
for someone like Chris Bay because he's out on that neck injury, and we want to send him all the good vibes and love and healing energy we can, and it doesn't matter who it's from.
Exactly, and so yeah. So here, actually, let's. I think we have a Chris Bay drop in here. Let's get a little Chris Bay.
The ultimate finesser, your girl's favorite wrestler.
Chris Bay? I forgot he used to say it like that.
And CM Punk, which you love to say.
No, I don't. Nice in this regards, because it's for a good reason.
For this regards. Because just like you, Bay. At times I have given him a hard time. I think a warranted hard time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but no, like, hey, when anyone does something that goes out of their way, that's cool. We'll definitely give it a shout out.
Agreed.
So then we go backstage. Jordan Grace calling out. Well, we go to Mean Gia Miller backstage, but she's immediately interrupted by Jordan just calling out Tessa. It says dropping a little language. And then saying, I'll see you in the ring. So she's calling out Tessa.
So I'm just catching up with this whole Tessa back train of thought. And I think it's really funny how they got this. This is like some Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd shit.
You go Looney Tunes on this.
Yeah, it's like was it Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner?
Ooh. Acme products for everybody.
Yeah, because is it right? Am I wrong? Is that what Tessa keeps doing? Is just keeps jumping her from outside the ring and like?
Oh yeah, she'll pop out of nowhere. Well, a little bit like Joe Hendry did when he first started reappearing during this run, and we all thought, oh, he could be heel. He could be heel doing this, just popping out of refrigerators and stuff. I could see Tessa doing that. So you never know. But so yeah, we'll see. Like I'm looking forward to it. I like what they're doing with this. So go from there. We get a vignette showing Masha and Rosemary as we're heading into Genesis. So kind of giving some promotion to that. And Alisha, I know we talked about it previously when we thought months ago that they were kind of aiming towards making Rosemary the number one contender to Jordan at the time. And then they kind of split from that real quick. They kind of did a creative audible and kind of just went, all right, Masha.
Yeah, don't get me started on that whole
but But yeah, but we'll see. It obviously develops later with the stipulation that we know we're getting. But what are your initials? Because I don't know. Obviously, we haven't talked since that, like the match is there. But that Rosemary is getting that title shot now.
I'm happy for this. I believe it's a good decision, and I've been saying for a long time that it's really important you solidify the strength of your roster, especially in the women's division, because we have to make it believable that anybody could win the belt. Like I hate to say it, but for the longest time, when you constantly put it on one person for a long time and everybody loses to him, you get a weak looking roster that way, and it's just not fair to anybody.
And that has been the case. Jordan was a dominant champion.
Mm-hmm.
Deanna was a dominant champion. You can go back to Tyra was a dominant champion.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's been a lot of dominant champions in the knockouts division. So yeah, you want to have some believability, because that's the thing. We were going over Jordan for months and being like, who could beat her?
Yeah, it kept coming down to, they're going to have to bring someone in. But like, I really believe now is an opportunity where, like Ash by Elegance, that's a believable champion. Rosemary, that's a believable champion. Havoc, if they bring her back, that's a believable champion. Like, and I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of people, but like, we've got a good, solid group of women here, and I believe that it's equal opportunity, equal ass kicking. So,
yeah, no, I'm with you, because that is something that's needed. Like, you need to get that upper knockouts card very strong. You can't just have it. It's happened in other divisions. There was a while where tag teams ran roughshod all over it, and it's like, oh, is anyone going to dethrone, like the North? Remember they had that run where nobody was touching the North. Like the Rascalz almost won it, and then it was like, oh,
because Trey fucked it up.
We all remember it was in Philly. They
I was there for that.
Quarter of a second. And then immediately they're changing the decision. But oh well. We get the Gauntlet match. The Mike Santana versus the Northern Armory. So you got Judas Icarus, Travis Williams, and Josh Alexander. Starting out with I believe it was Icarus. But you get Santana, handles his partner, but then you get Josh, who's in no mood to actually have a wrestling match.
Of course.
So just be an assault on Santana, who, once again, right now, one of the most over guys. You saw from the entrance, like, Santana's got a lot of momentum right now. But we now know at Genesis it's going to be Josh versus Santana one-on-one, or maybe one-on-one, because we know the
Josh can't do it by himself. He needs his little maple syrup squad to help him out.
The maple syrup squad. the fans were giving it to Josh. They were poor J-Bones. Lucky he has the night off. They were going after the follically challenged Josh pretty hard there. But
he's so silly. I can't take it serious. I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. It's just I'm not the targeted demographic for that particular thing.
Too silly for you.
It's a little too silly. I'm calling him Maple Syrup Squad. Like, come on. I'm just a woman. What do I know?
Oh, we did get a big friend of the show, the Iceman, the personal concierge. That he's going to have a TNA Knockouts Tag Team Title pre-launch celebration next week. Looking forward to that. I always like a little elegance. And what are your initial thoughts, Alisha? Do you think we get that title change, or will Spitfire retain them at Genesis?
I think we're going to get that title change, and it's not because I have any less faith in Jody and Danny, but I just feel like Ash by Elegance and Heather Reckless. Heather by Elegance would be, they've got the energy, the creative flow. I think it would be a very fun and interesting tag run for them.
Yes. No,
they got to put a belt on Ash. Come on. Like,
Ash needs a belt. Or should we call it a belt or just an accessory for Ash? Will it be more than like, I think she'll have a lot of fun with a belt.
I think they both would, because they could, as if they could get any more obnoxious, they could take that up to 100. Like, they need to do more fun segments, like with them and like them being over the top backstage and like a bubble machine. I just see a bubble machine.
A bubble machine. I like it.
I feel like that would be very pivotal because it would be like champagne bubbles. You know what I mean? Like,
see, you're tied it all together. I like that.
I have a vision for them.
A fun vision. See, I'm with it. I'm with it. Now we get a surprise here. Now I know he lives in Atlanta, but I was not expecting this because he obviously didn't show up for the shows. But obviously they taped this. Rosemary was backstage with Raven regarding talking about winning the Knockouts title, and then Raven, man, he's pretty little, you could say harsh or pointing out the facts. It's been about a decade since she won the belt.
Well, that's Raven.
Yeah,
then fast in a can, man.
But then he suggested, hey, have it be his rules, which obviously is the Clockwork Orange House of Fun match. And that's what it is. So we're going to get that match at Genesis. Very cool. It's been a while since we've seen one of them.
Made that man's night in that segment. I'm just going to say. I feel like,
that was fun.
You ever hear that song, Is Somebody Gonna Match My Freak? And I feel like Raven's whole career, he's always been looking for someone like Rosemary. Could you imagine what the flock would have been like with fucking Rosemary in it?
Any was destined. She was destined to be part of the flock.
Yeah.
So no, I like it. I like that connection. And that was very unexpected. So I'm obviously, as an old ECW guy, I'm a big fan of this. Big fan of this. Now, Mayor, who is keeping tabs on me, might be able to be the one, because was it right before this or right after that? Like around now, I feel is when they had the Kurt Angle and Jeff Jarrett match from 2009 Genesis. Very good match, but they showed the whole match, that one of those main events from that show, in its entirety. And Jeff Jarrett, I know recently in the news, I'm sure you have not heard this, Alisha, but like he's kind of doing his farewell tour now at AEW.
Again?
He's gunning. Yeah, he's like the Rolling Stones. He's always on a farewell tour. But he's gunning for their world title. But in his promo, he actually obviously acknowledged starting a company, and then the TNA chants from the crowd. So like he's been in the news lately. So I think it's fitting to kind of throw him in there. And then Kurt Angle, you always lead into the Kurt history at TNA. Still, I'll say the biggest, like that's always, I'll say long term, that was the most significant signing in TNA history, free agent signing. Because that always then gets into the thing about Hogan, which did get you a lot of mainstream early on. So, and who's also in the news for a lot of things lately. Because he showed up on Netflix as well and did not get the best reception.
I did see that viral reaction.
You did see that?
TikTok. Oh, yeah. That's all people were.
That's what it is. TikTok. I should have thought of TikTok.
People are still talking about it on TikTok and how happy they are that he got that reaction.
Much different than when he showed up in TNA all those years ago.
Well,
a lot's happened since.
A lot's happened since those days, and he no longer gets to hide behind being whatever the fuck he was in his heyday.
So yeah, I do Critical
Brutally
Sting.
honest.
Yes, definitely honest. I knew Critical Sting was because he's an OG, so I knew he was not going to be a fan of the moment of the week. I don't think that's going to become a regular thing. I think once again that was a fill time type thing due to a more limited taping, but it depends. If they go with 3 episodes, certain tapings, that could become maybe every other month you get one of those thrown in. And once again, not bad to show the app. As long as you're showing decent matches. But let's get into the next match here, which is the Rascalz, who we were just talking about, going up against the Good Hands. Obviously, as they're going to be facing the Hardys for the tag titles in Genesis. But now we know Skyler's re-signed. Feels like the Good Hands are definitely hovering close to going after, like they're probably, the 3rd or 4th, maybe 5th tag team in the division right now. But what would you think of the Good Hands and the Rascally Rascalz?
You're gonna be mad. I missed this match.
Oh, you missed. Well, it wasn't a real long match. Like that one, you may have taken a smoke break and missed it.
Yeah, basically.
But no, it's good to see them get some momentum against one of the established teams. Like I know people are gonna be like, oh well, when are the Good Hands gonna? But now that Skyler's resigned, I think you'll probably see him get a couple wins. But I always thought Johnny Swinger was going to get a win here and there. I was still waiting for him to get that 50 win mark. Critical Sting. Speaking of tapings, anybody notice they haven't announced anything for February? No. There is a period they do need to do some tapings to kind of get them from one to the other. Obviously, February, we already know we're in a cold freeze where Alisha and I are our neck of the woods. So, my prediction, warm weather for those tapings.
Preferably.
Well, they usually know. Around the winter time, they're like, yeah, let's go where it's warm. Let's not go where it's freezing. So, we go from there. We go backstage. Kazarian saying he's going to cash in his call a shot on Nemeth if he caught him with a gore tonight. So,
to Rhino.
Yeah, dude. So is the king, the self-proclaimed king, giving too much away here of his intentions? Is he playing mind games? I
don't think he knows how to do that.
Lack of serotonin, scarf wearing, Burger King wannabe. But lack of serotonin.
I'll say.
We only support serotonin on this one.
He's not even wearing guy liner. I think he absorbed it into his freaking brain. No, we're just kidding. We love Kazarian.
Yeah, we do. We just like giving him a hard time.
Yeah.
If he wore a crown, I still want him to wear a crown one day.
I want him to wear a good one though, not some cheap ass looking costume crown. For $25, you can get a cool one off at Etsy. You can go to Ren Fair and get one for a decent price.
There you go. Like him doing a Renaissance king type look would feel very appropriate.
Like some Game of Thrones ass Kazarian. Yeah. Can you imagine? Oh, I wish.
With a robe, a scarf, and that type of. Come on.
I feel
he could be the guy liner king of TNA. Now that I'll get behind that. I'll get behind that.
I would be delighted.
So all right, we'll get to the main event shortly. But then we get Maclin and EY, where they're saying that the system went too far tonight, and they're declaring war on the system. Then we get First Class out of nowhere. They're making fun of them, saying that they want to go after like gold. They want to get the tag titles, and that they're going to go talk to Santino. And just FYI, it was good this past Saturday. Mm-hmm. It's been a while because I haven't been to a ton of indie shows lately, but I was able to make it out to AXW, who made their return to Hamburg, Pennsylvania. So I went to the old Hamburg Field House, who used to have a lot of wrestling shows back in the day. But KC was there, and like I wore my Chris Bay, like look, the We Love Bay shirt. Mm-hmm. He was wearing his Chris Bay We Love Bay
twinsies.
Shirt. Yeah, so we were twinsie it. But he had a good match. Got the win out there. So
well, he's good to see. I don't know if people really know this about him, but he is an East Coast darling. He is beloved. Yeah.
He's definitely a guy you see a lot. Like I said, like probably over the last 5 years, I've probably seen him so many times on indie shows. So him getting signed by TNA and all, very cool to see. Like local boy did good. So definitely another reason I am a supporter of First Class.
He was such a good choice to bring in with AJ because they play off of each other just so well. They're like those annoying little brothers, you know what I mean? But you can't be mad at them because they're good at it. Like I don't know.
Yes, they're entertaining. They're entertaining. They really it's like you're funny. You're funny though. You amuse us. Now here's an interesting one. So this is the one that's now infamous because the dirt sheets picked up fan reports of this promo we get in ring from Moose with Lish. And about the X-Division title. And this is where we had to deal with a couple days of the X-Divisions being ended. TNA X-Division no more. People were running with this. And then Moose even had to come out and be like, no, that's not true. Because once again, the bad part about this stuff is on the internet, people will run with snippets of things that aren't even there because you hear the promo. Never said that. All he said, like, obviously he's cutting a promo and he torches the belt. He gets Lish to throw it out of the ring, and he says he's going to be replacing the X Division with a more fitting title. So obviously we're going to get a redesigned X Division title, like maybe a custom title for the X Division. Obviously we see that a lot in wrestling over the years. So let us know what your thoughts are. Like, let us know what your thoughts are on this custom Moose title, which you'd like to see out of it. But Moose is. Oh no, the lights went out. Even the cat is looking into you. The cat's like, what's going on here?
Chaos. Right, Cube? It's chaos. It's kidding.
There you go. The total nonstop cats. That's what we're also known as.
She's the new co-host.
Critical saying Moose Lee clearly said new X Division title in Genesis, and everybody went wild with the division being scrapped. Like how people go from A to W. I don't know how that happens, but that's what happens if you're just going to take somebody's word for something and run with it.
When you don't have media literacy, this is what happens.
Correct. Like, if you're going to run with, like, we are a news source and just take, like, one person's word for it. There's something in the news business. You got to verify sources. You got to get like a second confirmation, a third confirmation before you run with something. I know that's crazy hearsay in this world, but that's what we call good journalism. Might be worth learning about some people. So just FYI, the more you know. So Moose is saying all this. So Moose is pretty much saying a new belt. But then he's interrupted by the return of the Giant. Yes, the Giant, I said. Andrew Everett, who we have not seen in a minute. Obviously, we've seen him team with some guys, X-Division history. And he's there to get some respect back from Moose on that X-Division. And it does not go well for Andrew Everett, because then Moose does give him a match, and Moose lays the moose on him, shall we say, and it did not work out.
Yeah. This was a tough spot for Andrew, that's for sure. Well, welcome back, bro.
Yeah, welcome back. Like, because we see him like sporadically, but it's been a while. But always good to see Andrew Everett.
He's awesome. He really is.
Yeah. And he obviously he's still got the moves, but he wasn't able to showcase too much of it because Moose was dominant in disposing of Mr. Everett. So we'll see what's next. All right. We got. Oh, this is where Jordan comes out, calls out Tessa. And then Looney Tunes style, as Alisha would say. Tessa tries to blindside her, but then there's a brawl, and then security guards, referees, the kitchen sink come out to separate them. And then we get on commentary, they're like, Santino, he made the match. Genesis. Jordan, Tessa, one-on-one. It comes to a head in Genesis. So
it's gonna be brutal. BR Oodle.
BR Oodle. I like that. So looking forward to that. That should be a good one.
Did you miss the Sami Callihan?
Oh yes, Sammy.
That was right before that.
Yes, because so Santino. Yes, because that's my Santino thought. But they go to Santino, and it's Sammy saying, like, now him and PCO want a shot at the tag titles, and if they win their match next week, they're getting it at Genesis. They'll be added to the yes.
What was the 23rd? 23?
Oh, we still don't know.
Oh, we still don't know. God damn it.
It's going to be, I assume, in Texas.
23rd?
Well, the live Thursday night show will be it's San Antonio on the 23rd. So it could be the date. Like maybe something happens with Sammy. It could be someone coming out. It could be just somebody even on the roster doing something in regards to Sammy on the 23rd.
Uh-huh.
I know a lot of people still have a lot of ideas on who that could be, but obviously it has something to do with Sammy / PCO. So we'll see. So yeah, the 23rd is a live show. So we'll see. I still think that's the best answer for what 23 is. Something happening at that show. It's a date. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
I'm intrigued for sure to see how that all pans out. That and the infamous JBL, how that pays off. So now it's time. It's main event time. Main event time. So you get the Nemeth brothers back again. Nick and Ryan, equal standing, was the world champion, against maybe the next world champion, Joe Hendry, and Rhino, the War Machine, in possibly his last TNA match.
And they put him in a goddamn platypus match.
Well, they put him with the guy that is getting the biggest push in the company.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. I mean, they got the win. I guess that means something.
Yeah, he got the win. He's with the guy like
I just like Rhino more. God damn it!
And I'm a big Rhino guy. I said the Rhino
since the ECW days.
Yeah, he's the last ECW champion. But obviously he's a Hall of Famer, TNA Hall of Famer. So that was good. They did obviously that in Detroit, which was cool. So it's been a big year for Rhino. Like 2024 was a big year for Rhino. And I still, we'll see. I almost feel like we'll still see Rhino again in TNA. Mm-hmm. It feels too late, even though he was brief ECW. It's just funny in the end. He's a TNA guy.
Yeah, more than anything, he's a TNA guy.
I think he'll tell you he's a TNA guy more than anything else. So
I'm just heartbroken.
So once again, I think like other veterans, you use them certain ways, but man, he'll always get a reaction.
Yeah,
and you can always use a Rhino. So hopefully, it's not the end. We see Rhino again. Like I definitely am supporting the more Rhino in TNA cause. But if this is his last match, at least for a time being, if not for forever, I'm glad at least he went out victorious. Like if like his final match was a loss to Ryan Nemeth, I just couldn't. I wouldn't sit well with me. I know it was by DQ, but he lost last week to Ryan Nemeth. Can't have that.
They got the win.
Like that's more than the whole Ryan Nemeth story that Joe Hendry told us. Because he's Nick Nemeth's brother. The end.
Which Nick didn't look very happy at the end of the show tonight. Looking at
he did
Ryan.
not look happy. Did not look happy. And
well,
speaking of him not looking happy, it feels like there's been hints of this. Do you think Nick is going to be turned heel? Do you see? Is that what happens? Do we get a Nick Nemeth heel turn at Genesis? Does it cost him the title?
Maybe, and why not?
Maybe JBL.
It can't always be predictable.
Can't be. You try to predict it, and guess what happens? Then you're wrong. You try to predict it. But yeah, that's the main event. That's the show. That's that like we're building towards Genesis. So let us know, like late in the chat, if you're watching or listening late on this, not live. Let us know your thoughts on the show as we're heading into Genesis. I think they did a good job of obviously building that card tonight because, like I said, a lot of matches were added tonight.
Yes.
So I know we covered most of them in there, at least here and there. But let me make sure there's no other matches I did not mention that were made tonight. But the card is really coming together. I think we hit it at it, but Josh Alexander versus Mike Santana, that's official. Obviously, Jordan, Tessa, Masha, Rosemary, the Clockwork Orange House of Fun match. The Knockouts, tag titles, Spitfire versus Ash and Heather by Elegance. And then obviously, that main event, Nick Nemeth versus Joe Hendry for the world title. And then we can't forget Moose with his new belt against Ace Austin. So the card's really shaping up right now. And the Hardys versus the Rascalz. So you're getting a lot on this show.
Yeah. It's going to be good.
Oh, yeah. Let's, Bear, I see here, posted it. And it surprised me yesterday when they were on.
Mhm.
The TNI UK lads had ODB drop in. Bam! So very cool. If you missed that yesterday, go back, check out Bison, Joe, and Craig, and check it out. ODB was sitting in with them. Knockout legend, ODB. Very cool. Very cool. And I've been talking to Bison on the side. I know he has some big plans for some other people coming on. Maybe some people not associated with TNA that maybe they should be looking at. Maybe people I've mentioned that should be targets for this company. So very cool. And who knows? Maybe you'll see them on this show as well, some of these people, because, hey, if we think that could be somewhat of interest to the TNA fandom of maybe potential people to keep an eye out, look for, like we were just talking about Casey Navarro, someone we're seeing we think could do something. Maybe we'll start highlighting some of these people if they want an avenue to reach this fan base. We're happy to do it. So definitely keep track with the UK squad. Obviously, they're there every Wednesday around lunchtime. Obviously, we're here Thursday for the post-show review for the weekly. And then, obviously, as we get to the big shows, when we get Genesis and then, obviously, Rebellion, Slammiversary, and Bound for Glory, and then, obviously, the monthly specials, we'll be here for reviews as well after that. So, once again, thanks. I know a lot of new names were in the chat tonight. Very cool to see. If you haven't already, please hit the like button, ring the bell for notifications, follow, tell a friend, tell a pet, tell anything that can either click, watch, or listen about the TNI show. We always appreciate the support, because without you guys listening and watching, then there isn't a show for us to do. So we always appreciate the support, because both Alisha and I, what was it, Alisha? How long ago? We were just listening and watching with all of you.
Yeah.
So
It's a good handful of years now. 5 years?
good handful. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Maybe?
It feels like at least 5 years, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So old.
I think it's been 6-7 years. It's been a while.
So it's been a bit. That COVID just throws like those years like they never existed.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, everyone, thanks for joining us tonight. We'll hopefully get to see the Bone Man and all back soon. And then, but if not, we'll definitely be back next Thursday. So we will see everyone again next week. We'll see you later.